The remaining grand final berth goes up for grabs.
Hasler, Lions, Menzies gets 22.
The remaining grand final berth goes up for grabs.
Hasler, Lions, Menzies gets 22. It's been touched in flight, and Rogers puts it down. Muir, he scores!
Get ready for more sudden death drama as the Manly Seagulls meet the Newcastle Knights at the stadium.
Much more urgency now from Cronulla. They realise that this is getting very iffy, and here they go! Manly! They're in again! McCormack runs from dummy half, and then Muir goes for his second, and he gets it!
The record-breaking minor premiers are fresh and focused on taking the next big step.
Oh, Green. Oh, Cliffy Lyons, he's got Menzies and Hancock with him. Hancock, he's away. Hancock scores for Manly.
But those never-say-die Knights refuse to buckle to the pressure of the playoffs.
Andrew kicks. Robbie Ross is after it, but Cronulla, they didn't force it. It's a try.
A date with destiny awaits the victor.
Oh, Harrigan has gone after Carroll.
When the Sea Eagles meet the Knights, right here on Wide World of Sports.
Yesterday afternoon here at the Sydney Football Stadium, the Sydney Bulldogs were the first team to qualify for this year's Winfield Cup Rugby League Grand Final. A tremendous victory for them, 25-6 over the reigning premiers Canberra. This afternoon, as we welcome you back to league headquarters, we will find out which team will take them on in next week's decider. Will it be the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles or the Newcastle Knights? Unfortunately, the weather in Sydney is again atrocious. It's basically rained for the last 48 hours. Well, I guess that's the last thing on these teams' mind. They've worked so hard to be here. Newcastle, of course, defeated North Sydney in their first quarter-final clash. Last weekend, it was a Matthew Johns field goal that got them home over the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. While for Manly, just the one game in the final series, they too were too strong for the Sharks. Joining us in commentary, as always, Paul Vaughton. And Fatty, yesterday Canberra were very strong favourites. Manly today even more pronounced favourites. Is that a problem in any way for the minor premiers?
I don't think they're overly concerned about what odds they are. Newcastle, it'll probably suit them, though, being the underdogs once again. Anything they do, anything great, will be unexpected from the people, but I think they'll play very well today. Newcastle, a good tight forward pack and some great backs. But the Manly side, they look very strong up front, especially. As we go to their team card now, Jeff Tuvey back in the side as captain, hasn't played for 6 to 8 weeks with a neck injury. Terry Hill also back in the side from suspension. Hopoate moves on to the wing. Look, that's a very strong looking side. Gillespie and Carroll give them the experience up front. And the bloke who's had a fantastic season, number 11, Steve Menzies, coached by the great Bonzo himself, Bobby Fulton. And this Newcastle side also looks quite strong. They've played very well the last 2 weeks, I think, to win, coming from behind last week against Cronulla. And Tony Herman, Brett Grogan, Jamie Ainscough, Robbie O'Davis, plenty of speed there. The Johns boys have been in great form and a strong forward pack. Also, they'll be looking once again to the back row of Marquette and Muir to get them going forward.
The problem for the Knights, of course, Paul, has been well documented. They do have a lot of injuries in their side. I caught up with their coach, Malcolm Riley, only moments ago and asked him whether he was concerned that he was taking injured players into this game.
Yeah, naturally, taking players in that aren't 100% fit, but, you know, I think that they're the best option under the circumstances.
What about the conditions? Very, very wet out there.
Yeah, it's going to be very greasy and hard to handle the ball, and obviously it's going to play its part in the game. Kick chase is going to be very important, and stay away from those trenches at the side there. Is it the best way to play Manly to keep the game tight as much as possible? I'm not quite sure that it is, no, because Cliffy is such an adapt player. He's got so many options. He can turn the ball back inside, and he can put the short ball off to Kosef, and he can also bring and find the players wide as well. So, you know, he's going to take quite a bit of containing but I think we're going to have to speculate a little bit if we're going to win this game.
He's done a marvellous job with this Newcastle side this year, and Paul Vaughton, the question is, can he take them one more game?
Well, I'm going to tip Manly today, Peter. I was wrong yesterday, of course. The wet weather brings Newcastle right into this game. It'll be a tight game, very tough up front, and we're not going to see the free-flowing football, I don't believe, today that we have in the last few weeks. But for mine, Manly, they've only lost 2 games all season. They're good enough to win today.
Well, I think if Newcastle are to be successful this afternoon, they have to play like the Bulldogs did yesterday, very strong defensively, and they must start the game well. A very good game coming up, our second qualifying final for the weekend. Tremendous lineup here, the Newcastle Knights up against the Manly Ringer Seagulls. Let's now go to our main commentator, Ray Warren.
Manly taken out by Jeff Tuvey. There's the answer to a question that everybody's been asking. Will Jeff Tuvey play? Well, he's dressed up and he expects to play. And he's out there, the little man. Captain of Manly, striving for their 13th grand final. They've won 5. The Knights taken out by the country origin player of the year, Paul Harrigan. Never been to a grand final. Is 95 their year. The blue and red army are here. The chief, he's pumped up. Was a question mark about a leg. He thought he might have broken a bone in his leg. There's the man of the match last weekend by a country mile, Adam Muir. Well, Steve Roach, do you think Carroll and Harrigan will carry on as they did at Marathon?
I think they have to. The one who gets over the top will probably go on and win the game. They can't get away from it. They're opposed to each other. The funny thing for Manly, they've won the toss. They'll be running from left to right on your screen, but there's a big breeze behind the Newcastle side. I think this game might be won on kick chase.
The Gladiators are on camera. Harrigan and Carroll. So David Manson is the man assigned to the second final. Will it be he or will it be Eddie Ward that gets the nod next Sunday afternoon?
Let's talk about that front row clash. I'm looking forward just as much to Butterfield and Gillespie out there as well. We've got 4 tremendous front rowers out there that love hitting hard and love taking the ball forward. Desi Hasler knows all about this kind of football. Underway.
So the start of the second qualifying final, and Ridge it is. He looked around at Carroll to take it back, but then took it up himself. And so Manly with Gillespie on the second tackle and first use of the football. There's that air of expectation in the crowd, waiting for that first confrontation between Carroll and Harrigan. There's Harrigan coming out of the line. Carroll put away. Butterfield picked him off before Harrigan arrived. Lyons now lands it down inside the 30-metre line. Now Robbie Ross. Herman with Newcastle now. Their first touch of the football. McCormack, who played so well last weekend, and there they are. They come together. The 2 number 10s, Harrigan and Carroll. Now Muir is with it. And here they are, the 2 big men, their first clash of the day. It's amazing what some people do to get their kicks. Talking of that, Andrew Johns it is, who lands it down into the corner, defended by Craig Hancock, and he's off across the park. Marquette! Big tackle by Paul Marquette. Tremendous chase on the winger.
Magnificent tackle by Marquette. That'll lift himself and his teammates. Second rower chasing a winger, but determination got him there.
Yeah, and he's been involved in the next 2 tackles as well. That's 3 in a row. We saw Simon Gillies come up with something similar yesterday on Brett Mullins. That was just as good.
And here's a knock on.
Manly have made the mistake that Newcastle was looking for, and Butterfield was the man that created it. Danny Moore's head went down. This was the tackle. Butterfield at the front, Harrigan at the back, and there's the ball. No hint of stealing in the tackle. 34-18. Manly beat Newcastle at Marathon. Now the Johns brothers start to lay it together. Ainscough. Jamie Ainscough plays it on the 20-metre line as they go for Paul Marquette on the right. McCormack now. He's captain. Roberts lines him up and Harrigan loses it. Red.
Can't help but be amazed by the performance of Ian Roberts this season. He's obviously not 100%. The knee's got to be a major problem. Lost a lot of his mobility, but he still offers this Manly side so much. Second phase play, his work rate. Here's a chance for the Eagles. Menzies wrapped up well by Herman.
But in coming in to make the tackle, Herman had left a channel down the right-hand side of the ground.
And if Cliffy Lyons spotted that space out there, he'll be going to it all day.
Here's Tooby now. Brought down 40 metres out from his own line.
He'll go to it late in the tackle count as well, Paul.
Ridge it is who kicks. The ball will bounce down inside the 20-metre line. And here's Ross coming back. Links up with his winger, O'Davis. Ainscough runs in for dummy half work on the 40-metre line. O'Davis it is that tries to step in between the Manly forwards. Carroll makes the tackle, and now Harrigan, he joins in. Played now 40 metres away from the Manly line. It's with Matthew Johns, and he selects his man, and then a smashing tackle by Manly's Menzies and Tuvey. It was on Butterfield. Now Matthew Johns, and this is his brother. He puts a little kick in. Ainscough is after it, and a bit of work for Ridge to do, but the ball beats them over the dead ball line.
The tactic is a good one. We've pointed out before that Matthew Ridge plays shallow in defence behind his front line. It's not difficult to get one over his head to make him turn and chase. It's a very good tactic from the Knights. If Ridge is turning around, the whole side has to do the same.
Now Cliffy Lyons, almost away from the tackle of Tracy. And Tracy at the back of the scrum for Newcastle as Roberts is taken on by Matthew Johns, but Newcastle are inside the 10. So the penalty goes to Manly. And Ridge will come forward and find the line. Very good crowd in at the Sydney Football Stadium. There were many vacant seats at about a quarter of an hour before kickoff, but they've come very late in this wet weather to watch the second qualifying final as Carroll is picked off by Butterfield, and Manly now 10 metres into Newcastle's area as they go across for Gillespie, running off the pivot, and Hasler at dummy half again today. He's been deputising at halfback, and this is Kossev, 33 metres away from Newcastle's line. No score to Tuvey now with a long ball. Then he goes behind Lyons and out for Hill. Terry Hill back today. 32 metres out from the Newcastle line. Manly pushing it back towards the centre. And this is Roberts. 5 tackles gone. Manly unable to find an opening in that Newcastle defensive line. Ridge's kick is over the touch in goal. Robbie Ross thought it was going to be a pretty simple decision, but it was made a bit more difficult.
I do notice a positional change in the Manly side with the great form John Hopewadi shown in the last few weeks. He's actually playing in the centres, although named on the wing, and Denny Moore is playing on the wing in the number 3 jumper.
It was a very good defensive set of 6 there from Newcastle for a couple of reasons. Firstly, they wrapped up Ian Roberts, put him on the ground. Cliff Lyons was put under pressure as well. They took away some time for him to think, and that's what they need to do all afternoon.
Butterfield plays it now as Newcastle work it back to the halfway mark, and Marquette is 5 metres into opposition's area as they come across again for their captain. Harrigan slammed down by Gillespie, who worked there with Kossev. And that kick by Johns, I think O'Davis is fractionally offside. Oh, chance! It's a penalty to Manly. O'Davis and Ainscough for mine were offside, and Manson agrees. Watch them. Bottom of screen. And there's no doubt that he's right. Now, being in front of the kicker, they have, of course, to stay 10 metres away from the player in defence.
Yeah, as Peter Sterling said, it's a nice warning shot for Manly. I think that Newcastle will continue to kick long and left all day. One, behind Craig Hancock. He's slow to get back to the ball. And two, because that's their best chasing side. Jamie Ainscough in recent weeks has been dynamic down that side. Matthew Ridge, he's been warned earlier that he can't get up close to the defensive line. He's got to be back there for the kicks. That may allow a little chip kick later on where they'll grab a kick shorter and hope to retrieve the ball before Ridge can get forward to it.
Phil Gould, the state coach, with us in commentary through the finals of 1995. The grand final coming up next weekend. Will it be Manly or Newcastle playing Canterbury as Ridge's kick rolls down and crosses the line? 18 metres away from the Newcastle try line.
Already Jeff Tuvey showing how they've missed him. His defence front on has been just great. He's picked up a couple of the big Newcastle forwards and driven them, and a couple of chases from the marker area show that the skipper's back and leading the way for them.
Interesting statistic out of the defence count. Paul Marquette has made 11 tackles. His nearest rival on either side is on 6. So Marquette has been working overtime, and Newcastle knock on.
He's got Andrew Johns for a knock on from the scrum base.
They merely have some very good scrum base plays. Which one we'll see here. Hopewadi's gone back out onto the wing, more back into the centres.
And Hancock has gone from the blind wings out into the back line.
So here it goes from the scrum. Hancock ran decoy, Ridge came in, Hill ran decoy, and they knock on. Hopewadi knocks on the far side of the ground.
That was the same move they put on at Marathon Stadium in one of the last rounds. And they scored a try on that occasion, but Tony Herman has had a shocker.
He does cop some criticism, Tony Herman. He's a good, determined player. But in situations like that, dummy half running, you cannot afford to make mistakes, especially 25 metres out from your own line in a qualifying final. Another chance for the Eagles, and you don't want to give them too many of these, especially broken play.
So they lay it on again, and Lyons dummies to his inside centre and waits for Hopewadi. Now Kosef out wide, and this is Terry Hill, taken by Ainscough, but he got rid of Ainscough. Hancock, he goes back infield to be tackled. 15 metres out from the line. Tuvey. Now Gillespie offers a decoy. Lyons is with it. They've got the numbers. Ridge throws the dummy and takes the tackle. 19 metres away from the Newcastle line. Midway through the tackle count. Lyons on for Tuvey, and Tuvey is swarmed over by the Newcastle defence. Still 20 metres out as it goes to Kosef, and then for Roberts. And Roberts is put away. 15 metres out from the Newcastle line. It's on for Tuvey. Now for Lyons, who steps off his left foot. He beats 2, puts in a grubbing kick. Manson says play on as Cliffy Lyons appeals for a penalty.
That must really help Newcastle's confidence there. They've held out for just about 12 tackles in a row. Lyons put in a little kick through. It was appealing. He was taken out by Marquette, but it really didn't stop his progress like Paul Harrigan did.
See Jamie Ainscough on his haunches in the back play over there, just got to his feet. Terry Hill, of course, very fresh and very strong after only one game in the last 10 weeks. Physically shrugged off Jamie Ainscough there, who he knows playing with painkillers. And maybe that physical encounter between Hill and Ainscough could prove the difference between the two sides.
Well, that's a freakish piece of football. It came off the legs of Robbie Ross. It landed quite legally in the hands of Johns. And here's Hancock now, tackled 28 metres out from the Manly line.
I think he did that deliberately as Lyons again finds some space on the far side. Hopewadi comes up with the mistake. Second in a row.
Yeah, it was Tony Herman once again that came in off his wing to make the tackle, and it was a beauty. He chopped off the movement. Here he comes there, Tony Herman. Jenny Moore was unmarked on the outside.
I'll tell you something though, Paul. That's the second time he's done it. He's got away with it, and he's done very well. But if he doesn't pull it off, they're down that left flank. They've had the overlap on 2 occasions. Now, I think he's offside, the fullback who's in pursuit with Craig Hancock. And he's given the penalty again.
Rabs, you're a genius. He's got Robbie Ross, He was the man on the chase. Let's have a look at it. Well, once again, I think it's touch and go. But Manson, you must give him credit. He was right in line.
Yeah, the problem with both those kicks on the offside is that Matthew Johns is going sideways as he kicks the ball. He needs to head a little bit more upstream. He's running sideways, and that's very hard for his outside men to time that ball. Just going back to that play with Cliff Lyons and John Hopewadi on that other side. I think Cliff Lyons at this moment is persevering with the short ball, bringing Tony Herman in, getting his confidence up, and as Paul Vorton said, he'll snap him later in the game.
Here's Hill now. Rounded up on the 30-metre line.
That change we just saw on screen there. Jack Elsgood is on. Danny Moore has left the field. Elsgood has gone to the left wing. Roberts goes centre field as Menzies in support. Straightens up. Can't get ball offload on this occasion.
So Ridge it is who finds the line now on the end of Manly's tackle count. 13 and a half minutes gone and no score. Steve, a problem with Danny Moore, we're told.
Yeah, Danny Moore wanted to come off. He's got a little bit of a concussion after he lost that football from that big hit from Butterfield. And also in trouble, Jamie Ainscoe's got a hand injury. The trainers are attending to him too.
Good Danny Moore just coming back to the benches now. As Newcastle work it out 35 metres from their own line. Cross now for Darren Tracy. Tracy, very competent player. He adds great balance to that back row. As McCormack now unloads to the right for Harrigan to come back in, and Roberts picks him off around the legs. McCormack now finds that there's a bit of room from dummy half, and Andrew Johns throws the speculator. Ainscoe keeps it on the boot. Manson is going to call play back unless the advantage applies, and it does. So it's with Menzies. No score. 25 minutes of the first half remaining, and Elsgood is grounded on the far side of the ground. Shining. Oh, Carroll! Great stuff. Three of them had him in their sights. One of them miscued, the other two connected. It was like fire torpedo 1, 2 and 3 at the same time.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Tony Butterfield is hitting everything out there as Cliff Lyons drills the kick down deep, just in the field of play, and picks up 30 metres. But Butterfield is doing as much damage as anybody out there on the field at the moment.
Yeah, great hits by these forwards that have gone to bed last night dreaming of each other, these two packs, and they've certainly put it into operation. Good tactics by Manly. They've done it on every occasion, finding touch with their kicks. The week's layoff, sometimes you can come out early in the game and snap your wind and be caught wanting for condition, but they're slowing the game down to their pace. They're putting it out over the sideline, walking to the scrums and regroup before they have to tackle. Something Canberra couldn't do yesterday, and of course with the week's layoff they were a little rusty. Manly handling it very, very well at this stage.
So no mistakes out of this scrum victory by Newcastle. Unlike the previous one down in that corner when Andrew Johns knocked on. Here's O'Davis with a scurry away from dummy half, and here's Harrigan, and they're just waiting for him, and Carroll is normally the man that's waiting. It's again an absorbing struggle between these two big men of rugby league. Now Tracy out in the centres. Marquette is out there with him. Herman comes back infield, 39 metres away on tackle 5. Long ball across for Andrew Johns. He kicks and Ainscoe is after it, but Craig Hancock has got a bit of pasture in front of him. Pulled down on the 40-metre line by Robbie Ross.
Yeah, wonderful tackle there by Ross. Dangerous kick on that occasion by Newcastle. They didn't really have the numbers out here to handle it, and left the gap there for Hancock. The penalty goes against them.
He's only been in the top grade a couple of weeks, Robbie Ross. He's done some very good things out here this afternoon, including this tackle. You see the support play there, Hill and Lyons. Menzies, of course, backing up on the inside. Pass was thrown there. It could have been big problems.
Here's Tuvey looking to open Newcastle up. Something has to give. Here's Roberts. Put down by Harrigan over the top. Marquette underneath. Hasler now goes to the left of the ground for Kosef. And Kosef is 35 metres away from the Newcastle line. No score. Tuvey now across the lines. Menzies out in the centres. Hill was the runner. Ridge is the ball carrier now. And Ridge pulled down by McCormack as Manly set themselves up for another attacking raid, and they use a second man play, and then they go across for Jack Elsgood. Elsgood is pulled down 15 metres away from the Newcastle line on 5 as Hopewate serves it up for Lions, and Newcastle have opened up. Here's a try scored by Matthew Ridge for Manly.
And a very simple try it was. Last tackle. Newcastle intent on getting up, putting pressure on the kicker. Unfortunately for the Knights, Ridge didn't kick. A little bit of footwork. I think it was a forward coming through quickly on Ridge. Good footwork. Yes, it was more Marquette turned inside out. Robbie McCormack was on the inside. Didn't have the pace to cover. Ridge does it very easily.
The thing is, the man who sprinted out of the line to put pressure on Lyons, that's where Ridge went through that gap. If the defence hadn't come across. And Matthew Ridge doesn't score many tries, but gets a beauty in the qualifying final.
It's amazing how many tries Manly do score on the last tackle. Always keep the option open of running the football. On that occasion, not a pass was thrown. I'm sure we'll see during the course of this game Lions looking to throw long cut-out passes to people in space outside on the last. When it breaks down, someone will get a kick in. That time Matthew Ridge just taking advantage of the fact that they were too enthusiastic, Newcastle, and didn't have enough speed on the inside to cover the situation.
So Ridge will convert his own try from practically right in front. He does that. So Manly, they take first blood and lead Newcastle 6 points to 0. 20 minutes gone.
Allow us to highlight a few of them.
Andrew Johns just into what we might call the second session of play. Carroll storming back. McCormack taking him in the simplest fashion around the legs. Gillespie playing it on the second tackle since the restart. And now Hill loses it. Advantage for Newcastle. Ainscough pushes it out for O'Davis. And O'Davis has tackled 20 metres out. Terry Hill is injured for Manly. It goes across from Andrew Johns. The pass to Marquette. A little bit suspect. McCormack on. Matthew Johns is with it. They angle back in. They go up the centre now. It's back and away from Ross to Johns. Well, we're playing some panicky football, Newcastle. Now, Adam York. Looking to unload. He does eventually. Andrew Johns going backwards to come forward and then throwing a pass and looking at Matthew Ridge at the same time. There's half a chance on here, but Manly are back into the field of play easily. Well, a very sloppy passage of play for Newcastle.
And on the other side of the coin there, excellent no-panic defence from Manly. They've conceded the possession 25 metres out from their own line, but never at any time in defence did they panic or rush up out of the line. They just held their line the whole time, and in the end, Jamie Ainscough had to put a nothing kick in. There was nothing on offer for him. No real chase on this one. Manly players do a good job of shielding Matthew Ridge, and he's able to, quite in his own rights, to turn and come out on the in goal.
Des Hasler now. Manly have won the last 6 clashes between these two clubs. They've played 14 times and Manly have won 10. And the last 6, they've won them all. Herman. Another interesting fact out of the statistics today is that Manly are unbeaten this year away from home. 32 metres out from the Newcastle line. And Darren Tracy tries to shoulder his way through the defence.
One of the real luxuries for coach Bob Fulton, of course, is the depth he has on his bench. Fellas like Cunningham, Solomon, Hamono, Daniel Gartner on the bench. These heavy forward exchanges will take their toll. Newcastle, Billy Keaton's done a good job for them, but I don't see where they've got the same depth of strike power coming off the bench that Manly enjoy.
Now, this could be blood bin for the Newcastle captain, Paul Harrigan it is. Manson instructing the replacement to come on as Carroll comes off. Is that it? Cunningham goes on. That's an interchange, I believe, for Manly. Waddy and Harrigan came together in a moment of disagreement. And is that Bill Peden on now for Newcastle? It would be, in jumper number 27. We're going to see a scrum packed down now. 10 metres away from the Manly line. Manly leading 6-0 with about 24 minutes of the match gone.
Newcastle persevering and kicking down the left-hand side of the field to where Ainscough chases and in behind Hancock. One thing they'll have to watch as the game wears on is that they chase down the middle of the field as well, because Cliffy Lyons on play 2 will go wide to Hopewadi and Jack Elsgood, both with brilliant pace out on the left-hand side of the field. If Newcastle get tired and don't chase down in one line, on play 2, Manly could get them out wide.
So here's Lyons now. Over for Hill. The pass I thought was forward. Manson agrees. From Hill to Hopewadi was forward. And a scrum will give Newcastle a very good opportunity.
Yes, Terry Hill goes for the hole. And the referee's got it right on that occasion. Hopewadi was away under the sticks. Tracy in chase.
Has he got it right? He could have even... No, the point I'm making...
Oh, you're talking about maybe a penalty?
He could have given a penalty for deliberately throwing the ball forward.
Change here for Newcastle. Tony Herman has been replaced by Michael Egar in 17. To get involved from this scrum win. Matthew Johns pulling the strings. The second man passed away. It's go.
Oh, he nearly took Robbie Ross's head off, but it eventually finished up with the target man, and that is O'Davis. Ainscough now, away from Matthew Johns. There's a cluster of Newcastle players way off to the right, setting up a play out there. They're 9 metres out now as the Johns boys form the link out to this cluster. There they go out to them now. They go for the corner, they're pulled down. Played back to McCormack now. Across they come for Matthew Johns. He holds it back and he's put away by Cunningham.
They tackle Cunningham.
Now, Adam Muir, he turns it in for Johns. He rolls it into the end goal. And it's Matthew Ridge getting back into the field of play.
Still things are falling down for Newcastle. Those kind of kicks need to be known by the chasers so that they can get through and force the line drop out.
I'll tell you what happened on the far side is a Newcastle player is down. Butterfield. They call for the stretcher. But on the play where Egar went through and nearly scored, they needed one more pass, one more man there, and Brett Grogan had fallen asleep on the play and was 5 metres behind the play. Should have been there. Here it is here. Now Brett Grogan, see him drifting back there? If he gets up there with Egar, it's try time.
You cannot believe that Grogan could be 30 metres from the play.
It was obviously a set play. He knew where it was coming. There was the 7th Cavalry out there waiting for the ball. They created the space on the outside, something they've worked on. He wasn't there.
Yeah, 6 points to nothing. There'll be a short delay, so we'll take a break and be back in a moment. Out of the Sydney Football Stadium, Tony Butterfield, he didn't want to take the free ride in the Medicab, and the trainers from Newcastle were forced to bodily lift him off. And this is David Gillespie now, just outside the 20-metre line. Butterfield is off. He's being assisted by the trainers back towards the dressing sheds, and Mark Glanville has gone on for Newcastle as Ridge puts in a big kick. Robbie Ross, I think, probably losing the ball completely in the backdrop of the crowd. Totally bewildered by it. Well, Butterfield, they're trying to walk some feeling back into that leg injury, and as you can see, he's opted to let the Medicab come out and go back with no passengers.
He's a player that has been plagued with a lot of serious injuries. The knee has been a problem for him in the past. As Newcastle win the scrum, Matthew Johns, it's a little step in, can't beat Tuvey. Matthew Ridge assisting.
So 6 points to nil, 13 minutes of the match remaining in the first half. And 28 is Mark Glanville. He's only back today from that fractured cheekbone.
It's a good sign from Matthew Johns, though. I think he should persevere going to the line using his footwork. Manly very, very good one-on-one defence, especially when you're passing along the line. But they can be cut up on the edges of the ruck. Some of their big men, Roberts and Gillespie, get caught wide. I think Matthew Johns has got to persevere with going to the line using his footwork, trying to do a little bit more himself.
Butterfield had been the second top tackler for Newcastle at the point where he left the match. That kick finding the touchline in goal. So it'll come back out to the 20-metre line for the restart by Manly.
Look, it's not a bad kicking game by Newcastle. I'm surprised, they haven't decided to actually just put the bomb up towards Hancock's wing. He's a bit dusty under the bombs, but so far they've had no gain from their kicking game at all. And I think it's time they just started to put the pressure on the man.
But even the midfield bomb, Paul, I know Matthew Ridge is very strong under the high ball, but anybody who is standing still with chasers coming through and doesn't have the momentum is under pressure straight away.
Well, how many times have we seen tries from kicks the last couple of weeks?
Menzies now. Tuvey into acting, half a question mark on just how long in this match Jeff Tuvey will go. He admitted himself that his fitness might be down a fraction. He's had that slipped disc in the neck, and whether he completes the match remains to be seen. But at the moment, the ship is sailing sweetly for Manly, and Newcastle continuing to play what I call a panicky brand of football. Steve Roach on the sidelines. How are you seeing it?
Yeah, it's been a good game. I can't believe that Newcastle have replaced Tony Herman uninjured and put Michael Egar on, considering they got so many injuries coming to the back end of the game. It could be an important replacement.
Andrew Johns now 40 metres out from his own line, and this is his brother. And a penalty against Manly for being inside the 10. That's Newcastle's second penalty. The penalties are running, or in fact, is it Newcastle's first penalty?
Yeah, first penalty in the 30th minute of the match. 4-1, they're down on the penalties. But when they've been in Manly's territory, it's been really nothing constructive down there. Let's see what they can do now.
So Andrew Johns reaches the centre of the park with his pass, and Matthew sends Bill Peden ahead to the 30-metre line, and now Marquette knocks on. So Manly, they go straight onto the attack, and Terry Hill is tackled by Adam Muir about 7 metres short of the halfway line. Tuvey across now for Kosef out wide. That puts Lions even wider. Hopewate is put away with Elsgood outside him. And Elsgood decides to take a run from dummy half that doesn't yield a lot of ground, and Glanville makes the tackle. As Gillespie loses it now, is ruled knocked backwards. And I've got to say to you that that ball looked to me as though it was propelled towards the opposing dead ball line. I know he had his back to that line, but the ball to me was propelled forward. That was a knock on. Ridge now lands it down almost on the Newcastle line. Grogan goes across to assist the ball carrier Ross. Now it's O'Davis. Head down, the burrowing run. And there's Paul Harrigan. The stitches above the left eye wound have been completed. Peden now. 33 metres away from the Newcastle line. Newcastle never to a grand final. This is their opportunity today. And it'll be no fault of Adam Muir, who's about to play the ball, if they don't make it. Well, here's a ball that has been contested by Manly, but Manson has given the penalty against Nick Kosef, number 13.
I think they had 3 players in the marker situation as well. So a double whammy. Playing good brand of semi-final football, Manly. Just grinding away. They're going to grind Newcastle into the dirt today if they can. Nothing flashed so far from them.
Yes, I think Manson was probably in the final wash-up penalise that player for interfering with the play the ball, the one on the ground. Newcastle, in the meantime, they drive their attack over to the right as they fan out to the left, and they come through from Matthew to Andrew. And out wide is Tracy. He's only a decoy. Ainsko is away from the tackle of Hill. The ball was knocked down by Cliffy Lyons, so it'll be another scrum and another Newcastle loose head and feed.
You've got tremendous awareness and alertness, Cliffy Lyons. He sees a dangerous situation. You're able to cover the man and the ball. Got himself in between them, and not unlike him to pluck that and go all the way with it. Cliffy Lyons, there's a few games in that face, isn't there? Brain ticking over.
Newcastle now with a very good opportunity just in front of half-time, and this is Michael Egar. Grogan has pushed out onto the wing. Egar has come into the centres. This is Glanville, and taking a couple of tackles will help Mark Glanville get some confidence. Andrew Johns looks for Darren Tracy, and Tracy has tackled 7 metres out from the Manly line. And he's found a knock-on. He's found a knock-on, Manson.
And Tracy's effort to get up and play the ball quickly. The referee has seen a knock-on. Robbie McCormack just consoling his lock forward.
It was a nice little crisscross set play. We highlighted that in the Telegraph Mirror yesterday. Something that Newcastle use in centre field in the opposition quarter. Both halves changing sides of the ruck and then forwards inside. Now at that time Tracy nearly skipped through.
Really big 7 minutes coming up here for Newcastle. If they can be within 6 or even closer at the break, they go in with a good chance in the second half. If they find themselves having to score a couple of times, Manly will really go in with the ascendancy. Big passage of play coming up here, and Hill's nearly busted them. Finds
Hancock angles back to the centre and is tackled on the halfway line by Andrew Johns and Robbie McCormack. But Manly has got Newcastle on their heels. Oh, great tackle. Andrew Johns on Cliffy Lyons. Now Lyons plays it about 5 metres into Newcastle's territory. Kosev picked off as he ran across the park. 5 tackles gone for Manly. A chance for them looks to have gone as Ridge puts the kick in over the head of Grogan, and it finds the line.
It's a lovely skill to have, to be able to kick with both feet. Matthew Ridge really pressured there by Robbie Cormack, sprinting out of the line, but very calmly, something he practiced all the time, onto the left foot, no problem. Right down where his teammates wanted it, out and over the sideline.
Matthew Ridge scored the lone try at the 18th minute. Then converted. 6 points to nothing with 5.5 minutes of the first half remaining. This is Grogan with the ball now. Adam Muir. Johns now. Almost on the halfway line with Andrew playing it back and away from Glanville, for McCormack to go on, for Matthew Johns to promote. Just across the halfway line, 5 tackles gone and 6 points to nil in favour of Manly. And the ball has come down and away from Manly, but referee Manson has ruled that it went forward. And he's going to put a scrum down. I just want to watch this again, if I can.
Well, I thought there was a chance that Menzies might have been actually offside. The ball's travelled forward and Menzies, I thought, was in front. But it's a Newcastle feed anyway, as a replacement comes on.
It's called accidental offside.
Sure.
And
Solomon Hamono on for David Gillespie.
Yeah, he didn't play at the ball, the Manly player, and his teammate was fractionally offside. I think he's applied the accidental offside law to his ruling here. So cement goes off. David Gillespie. He's done a rugby league Lazarus this year, Gillespie. Good luck to him. Ainsko now. And O'Davis. He had one of the Johns brothers crying out for it. It wasn't, in fact, it was Michael Egar. A chance for Newcastle as they go across the park. Matthew Johns works with them. Adam Muir, and Muir is held 20 metres out from the line. Right where they want to be. Now, Matthew Johns runs to the line. Andrew comes in from behind. He's pulled down by Des Hasler and Jeff Tuvey. 3.5 minutes on the clock. They had a dummy half there. Ainsko rolls it in. Oh, that's close. That is close. He's given a try. Well.
Oh, brave decision, this one.
This is a brave decision made by the in-goal judge.
Well, I'll tell you what, just from what I've seen, I thought that Ridge got his hand in the football first. Ridge actually talking to the in-goal judge now. Here it is.
Well, Ainsko, he weights it perfectly. To the naked eye, it looks like Manly get their hand to it. And he's made the right ruling, the in-goal judge. Gee, you've got a good set of eyes, Fatty.
He's a genius.
You've got a great set of eyes.
Look, from here it always looked like a Newcastle try.
There he is, the man that got it right.
There he is. Good on you, son.
Well, Matthew Ridge did actually get his hand there, but it missed. The ball eluded it. And Robbie O'Davis has scored off a little kick through that Ainsko has tried on a couple of occasions. It's been unsuccessful. In fact, their kicking game at this end hasn't been particularly good. But Ainge goes through. Hancock slow to turn. O'Davis was on the fly. And never any doubts about that one.
Well, looking at that picture, the in-goal judge, he wouldn't have a clue whether Robbie O'Davis did ground it legally because Matthew Ridge's body obscured his line of view. It was a brave call, but he got it right.
Yeah, but good reaction from the Newcastle players. They put the pressure on straight away. They're up to their feet. They said it was a try. I don't think the in-goal judge had much choice. He knew that Matthew Ridge hadn't forced it, so someone had to have.
It just looks on the Manly faces there of Hancock and Ridge. They knew as well.
Yeah, we've seen Matthew Ridge explode a few times when people have got decisions wrong in his mind. And he took that fairly meekly as Andrew Johns misses the conversion. 1 minute 22 on the clock. 6-4 Manly.
And I was going to say, Jamie Ainsko today, I feel he's been a little bit disappointing in the fact that whenever he's got the football, he hasn't been prepared to run. Every time he's got the ball, he's either passed or kicked. I don't know if he's carrying an injury, but his go in this game is to get the ball, tuck it under the arm, and go at 100 miles an hour and try and break the line.
Well, I've got to say to you that we broadcast from a very lofty point of the Sydney Football Stadium. There is no higher.
It's easy to make a mistake from up here.
I'm simply saying that I think everybody in this broadcasting box, without the aid of the replay, thought they had got it wrong. So Newcastle back at 6 points to 4. And as Peter Sterling was saying earlier today, longer they can hang in there, their chances improve. I suppose that's a natural thing, but he's of the opinion that, as I am, Newcastle, they're not necessarily a catch-up football team. They got to be there on the pace. This kick through is looking for Ainsko, but Ridge away, and he puts a kick in. A daring tactic by Ridge. Turns Matthew Johns around. Now he's got to get it back. Now he runs it over the dead ball line, realising that the siren had gone. And so, the end of the first half. Manly in front, 6 points to 4. Butterfield has been lost to the Newcastle side. Manly, a try to Ridge. Newcastle, a try to O'Davis. The goal kicking, the difference at this point. David Manson, smile on his face. I guess he's been told at halftime they got the call right on the O'Davis try. And that would bring a smile to his face. He copped a bit of a bucketing, apparently. His family copped a bucketing in Brisbane over last weekend. I don't think anybody subscribes to a referee's family being harassed. So Manson blows time on, 40 minutes away from who it will be against Canterbury in the grand final next Sunday.
And Adam Muir it is, who's tackled just inside his own 20-metre line. And it's a cross now for Harrigan. Peter Sterling, you might think about for a few seconds what Malcolm really would have been emphasising in his half-time delivery to his players. And likewise, Paul Vorton, the same thoughts across to you from Bob Fulton, and then we'll go down and see how accurate you both are with McCormack.
For the Knights, I think that the most important thing for them is to do what they did in the first half, play good field position and not come up with some mistakes. Here's Johns up the middle, takes it over halfway. But the other thing, and here's a penalty too, so a good start to the second half for the Knights.
This is an interesting situation here. What happened, Desi Hazard got knocked over by Solomon Hermono, and Solomon there, he actually stood there to help him up, and that's why they're called offside.
The other thing I think Malcolm really would like his side to do is to not play 4 plays. So what I mean by that is to set it up for 2 or 3 down the track. I think you've got to treat everyone as though it's the most important one of the game, that you can score on each one. A lot of times Newcastle do send a lot of one-out people up inside their opponent's 20. That's a bit of a waste.
All right, we'll go to Steve in just a moment. The ball is going across the park with the Johns brothers combining with Adam Muir, and Muir stands and tries to get it away. Manly now, though, are awake to Muir, and they were waiting there for the ball just as much as Newcastle, if not more evident. Here's Muir. He refuses to die with the football, and Manly know that. They were like birds at feeding time.
Yeah, a few of these Newcastle young players, I mean, they've come through their first representative season. Muir and the 2 Johns boys are really starting to learn what it's all about. I think they've sat down and said, hey, fellas, we're 40 minutes away from the grand final here. It's just starting to sink in for them. They appear really confident at the moment.
So Manly are on their last tackle, and Ridge's kick is going down nicely for Ross, who comes back and away from the 30-metre line. He's almost out to the 40-metre point.
I think that's the difference between the 2 sides at the moment. Every time Newcastle kick, Manly have got to go backwards to retrieve the ball. Whereas when Manly kick, Robbie Ross is very deep. He runs onto the ball and gets his side moving forward straight away. As a result, they're over the halfway in 2 plays.
And Harrigan just took the ball up with great gusto, and he ran straight over the top of Owen Cunningham. And the little Manly, or when I say little, the chunky Manly back rower, number 14, he bounces off the ground, bounces back to his feet as if to say, that didn't hurt. But it did, you know. Here's Elstood now on the halfway line. Well, Steve Roach, what did the coaches have to say?
Yeah, well, Manly, they just think they've got to keep running Newcastle around. A few gaps starting to appear on the outside. He thinks their outside backs are pretty slow to adjust after a kick. There was some talk about Terry Hill missing a couple of tackles on Jamie Ainscough. He's going in for the big hit. Bozo said, look, mate, just wrap him up.
Here's Ridge making a break. Lyons was with him, so was Hopewate. But the pass was forward.
Hold the phone, Blocky.
You've done it again, Blocker.
Yeah. Anyway, Bozo was saying too that also there's a big breeze behind Manly. Now they get the opportunity to put some pressure on this Newcastle side. For Newcastle, Malcolm really telling his team to try and slow Manly down. Keep walking the scrums. The time on the clock will keep ticking away. We can't afford to keep giving them the ball back, especially from kicks from scrums where players are offside. He said run the ball as much as you can. There's a little bit of value out wide also for the Newcastle Knights, and he said also he wants the scoreline to be around this with 10 minutes to go. 6 points to 4. If they can hang in, he thinks they can win.
All right, there it is from the dressing room. Steve Roach on the sidelines, and there we are near the halfway line, Newcastle's side, as Harrigan, who's led very much by example today, is going to be a bruised and battered captain at the end of it, no matter what the result. This is Muir now, 42 metres away from the Manly line, 6 points to 4, no change to the halftime scoreline. Tracy off for McCormack, and McCormack looking to promote, but then thinking more wisely about it. 5th tackle and about 4.25 minutes gone in the second half as they come across now for Andrew Johns, and he kicks, and there's Marquette chasing it. He's the only one of the Newcastle players on the right that was going to represent any danger to Manly.
Well, almost a heated discussion there between the Johns brothers. They were seen amicable towards each other, but there was a mix-up there between the two, and the kick was a poor one. Hancock coming in off the wing to take the restart from Hasler, and Hasler looking to get his forwards on a roll here, calling them on. Kosef, the second man up.
They've got unbelievable communication between themselves, the Johns boys. They can understand them blowing it up at each other. They whistle to each other. They click their fingers. They call each other different names. Unbelievable communication. Bit of backyard football in all of that, I think.
I think one of them suggested to the other that he didn't have any parents after that kick. He wasn't very happy at all.
Were you adopted?
Exactly, yeah. Now it's Lyons, and he kicks on the halfway line, and the chase is keen from behind from Hormano as Ross comes away. He isn't able to beat Cliffy Lyons completely. Hormano seals up the tackle, and now it's Michael Egar.
As Phil Gould pointed out, Robbie Ross's positional play has been very good this afternoon. He's had a fine game. No mistakes, been very safe, and that gives a lot of confidence to his players in front. And he's running the ball back strongly, not making mistakes. Gives them a good platform to build off.
Head clash there between Hasler and Cunningham. Kosef is not well. Kosef is trying to get some feeling into his shoulder, and he's out in an outside centre position on the opposite side of the ground to where we are, but that kick has gone back, if you like, to the side that he's working on. Hancock it is who comes away.
I'll tell you who else is in trouble. Matthew Ridge down on his haunches, clutching at his ribs.
Still means he's not real healthy either.
And Manly at the moment have got a few problems. The only problem they haven't got is on the scoreboard. They lead by 2, but we know that 2 of their players are in a bit of trouble, although this is Kosef with the ball now. And he flicks the ball out the back as Muir drives him into the football stadium turf. And now Tuvey, 35 out from his line. They go over for Roberts, and Roberts back for Terry Hill. And the grassing tackle cuts him down. Again, it was Muir. And now this is Cunningham, and Cunningham is a couple of metres into Newcastle's area. You can't give him any space, Cunningham. He's very fast. Now Kosef finds Lyons. He goes across for Hormono. And Solomon Hormono will play the ball just beyond the 40-metre line. Newcastle's end of the park. They go on the 5th tackle to Ridge. That came off Newcastle. They didn't play at it, but it's gone into touch. It'll be a Manly loose head and feet.
We mentioned earlier in the game that Malcolm Reilly had made a replacement, replacing Tony Herman with young Grogan on the wing here. 2 differing styles of defence. Grogan sliding out. We saw earlier in the game Herman coming up and in. Cliffy Lyons setting him up for a long ball later. But Grogan is covering his winger a lot better. That will present itself with a short ball maybe to a Menzies coming close to Lyons inside the centre on this side of the field.
Blood bin then for Owen Cunningham as Mark Carroll sprints back into the game. And you might have seen a picture of Matthew Ridge. He, I think, was badly winded, and he was still trying to get his lungs full of some oxygen as it's played now by Tuvey, and then Kosef, and he takes it to the 30. Now he angles Hill back in. Jerry Hill is tackled 11 metres out. Is this Manly's time to score? It's Hopewate who's tackled by Ainsko. A little lash out by Hopewate. It's a penalty to him. Hopewate has drawn the penalty. And Ainsko, the man involved.
They're in trouble, Newcastle.
Yeah, I think if Manly take the kick at goal here, that's a huge bonus for the Knights. I think they're ready to just about be popped open here.
We nearly saw Tuvey go straight through from the scrum base, which is exactly what happened when they met during the premiership rounds, and they scored a try from it. This is the penalty given away. Matthew Ridge has taken it back to the 20-metre mark to take the kick. Boys will be boys.
Big Mark Carroll told John Hopewate what he thought. He said, keep your mouth shut and don't give away stupid penalties. We've got this one, but you've got to keep your mouth shut.
It's amazing how little things in the game do. Just small things really change the course. We see there Manly kicking the ball on the last tackle into Newcastle. It goes out over the sideline. It gives them another set of 6. And all of a sudden everything's changed. Instead of the Knights having the football and working it out, they've got to hang on for another set of 6, and in the end here they've done it for 3 tackles, and it could cost them 2.
Ridge then. The clock comes up to 50 minutes. Manly by 2. Ridge is 10 metres in. His kick is offline, and they've got to get it back. Will they get it back? No! Great defence. Menzies.
Leave it to Beaver. That's him.
What about the catch from Robbie Ross? He's nearly misjudged this one and missed it completely. Probably the worst kick we've seen from Matthew Ridge all year. Pretty good take from the fullback in the end.
So the dropout. We'll see Newcastle under siege again. Carroll comes back. Lions now waiting a dummy half for a slow play the ball. This is Hormono.
Lions pushing his players to wheel it around to the right. I think he wants to come back and have another go at Grogan's side on this side of the field.
This is Kosef. Isco starting to muscle up in defence, but I'm just a bit worried about him. He can go over the top. This is Ridge angling Hopawate back into the centre. He's away from one. He's up to the 20. He's still going. Robbie Ross is having trouble with him. It was like a prime mover and an articulated vehicle. Now they come across to the right for Lyons to go on for his captain, and his captain has run out of runners. That's all right. I'll come back to that later, Fat Man. That's too difficult for you. Now Lyons, and he goes to the air.
And the result, oh, it's come off the fingertips of Elsgood. So no change at half-time. 51 gone, Manly by 2. You're back to the tap from the middle of the 20-metre line. Newcastle with it. Now Tracy was pulled down 30 metres out from the line. Now Grogan comes off from dummy half. He's wrestled by Roberts and pulled down. Hasler over the top, ensuring the play the ball is not too quick. Harrigan now. Goodness, he's taken the ball up with venom today. This is Muir. He's just inside Manly's territory. Newcastle trailing by 2. The fifth tackle is with them. And Matthew Johns kicks it down for Ridge. Ridge using Elsgood. Matthew Ridge is still not well.
No, I don't think he'll last the game, Matthew Ridge. He couldn't run the football then.
Just wonder whether that had something to do with the kick on the far side of the field. He really didn't strike it the sweet way we know he normally does.
Now it's Hormono.
Playing a nice simple game today, Paul Harrigan, just hitting it up very, very strongly. Last week caught out wide in the back line, out of position a couple of times. But that part in the middle of the field where the grass is worn out, Paul Harrigan's trying to make that his own today. Just up and down the middle of the field, in attack and defence.
So Manly now go through from Tuvey to Ridge, who kicks, and the ball is going down in goal for Ross. And he comes away with the Manly defence confronting him. Exactly 10 metres out from the line.
That's the sort of kicking game Manly want. They want Newcastle running back to the football, not coming forward and picking it up on the run.
Driving tackle over the top by Menzies on Ross, and now Egar goes across the 30-metre line, and he's going to play it now in a more central part of the ground. He plays it back for O'Davis to go for a dummy half run. Nothing wrong with that either as this match draws on. The big men having trouble keeping up. Now Muir.
That's 5 really good tackles there from Newcastle.
Simple stuff though, Pete.
Not many passes thrown, but they really ate up as many metres as they could. This is the last. And a bad pass brings a lot of it undone.
Well, Brett Grogan blowing up there, but why didn't he stick his hands out and try and catch it?
The Newcastle players just starting to look a little bit tired out there, but they look around, 3 or 4 of them had their hands on their hips. This is the crucial part of the game. This will get you through to a grand final, the next 10 minutes.
Work out what Grogan was doing there. As Paul said, why wouldn't you stick a hand out?
They ran onto it.
That was like putting up a white flag. Now, Terry Hill trying to put his mark on the game. Back from his lengthy suspension. And undoubtedly not an easy day for Terry Hill as Tuvey runs into the waiting shoulder of Harrigan. And now Manly set up their attack as they go through Kosef onto Lyons, and Lyons, he kicks as the centres for Newcastle umbrellaed in, and Ross has got to get it back, and he does that to be met there by Craig Hancock. O'Davis now.
Kick from Lyons there, but it was brought about by some good defence from Jamie Ainscough. Got up quickly in the umbrella fashion. Lyons saw that there was no option to throw the pass out wide, so was forced to kick, and that hands over possession, of course.
He's had much more success on this side of the field coming back to Grogan's wing. On that occasion, we saw Terry Lamb yesterday snooker Canberra down in the corners with good kicking game. Manly, unlike the first half now, getting a little bit of field position. If they can come up with a couple of balls, I think they've got the strike power to put this one beyond reach.
25 minutes of the match remaining. This is the last tackle for Newcastle, and Jack Elsgood is going to see Manly resume with the football in good field position again, because that is the first tackle, and he's only 8 metres short of halfway as Hopewate takes the second play.
You get the feeling it's going to be Hopewate, Hill or Menzies who's going to come up with the important bust shortly.
Carroll ran into the shoulder of Marquette, bounced off that, had another go and ran into Muir.
Good time for Hamono. I don't think it'll be long before we see him on the field.
So Gillespie it is now. About 38 metres out from Newcastle's line into the hands of Tuvey, who dummied on the inside for Kosef and then succumbs to the tackle of Newcastle as they go to the blind for the kick by Lyons. It's a high kick, giving the chasers plenty of time. And Terry Hill is on the ground. I'm wondering whether there was anything in back play. Now O'Davis goes away and throws a dummy and then picks off Egar, who goes back for Andrew Johns, and then he runs into Hasler. And they're just outside the 20-metre line, Newcastle, as Grogan is wrestled by Roberts, and the pass goes through two sets of hands for Muir. And Adam Muir standing, always looking to unload. I'm not just saying, I'm not trying to be super critical of Newcastle. I can't quite believe the number of times Adam Muir is left to stand. He has now become one of the most proficient offloaders, and so many times he's looking vacantly with nobody supporting him. He's a great man to follow. Now it's back for Matthew Johns to keep this arm wrestle going from one end to the other. 5 tackles, kick. 5 tackles, kick. And let's work ourselves into a position to take a good shot at them. Let's work for a mistake.
Yeah, it's great stuff, that finals football, isn't it? Because it's going to come down to one mistake. Someone's going to miss a tackle. Someone's going to drop a ball. Whatever team can get 12 or 18 tackles in a row, all of a sudden going to firm into favouritism.
I think Malcolm really can help his side here. There's no doubt that Matthew Ridge is injured, and because of that, the wingers are dropping back very early to help him to run the ball up. We saw Grogan here with an opportunity on the outside when he didn't put his hand out, but if you can get a message to the Johns boys, they do drop back early. There's a chance to run the ball on tackle 5.
Talking of tackle 5, we're on that now for Manly, and Lyons gets his kick in front of McCormick's pressure. Robbie Ross comes back. He didn't have a big job to do. O'Davis is there. Ross is with him. And O'Davis, the try scorer, well, Terry Hill is taking him on a holiday.
Yeah, that was pretty ordinary play there from Terry.
Thought he was going home for a minute.
No, take him under the arm. And away he went.
It's like one of those trolleys at the airport, you know, those luggage things.
He said he was looking stronger.
Come over here.
Here, boy.
Here. Fido, come behind.
Robbie couldn't find him either. He had the jersey over the head.
They're getting a bit of a smell for this, Newcastle. Like, Manly have had a bit of field position and have come up empty. And Newcastle really feeling as though they're in the game, I believe. This fella's a fella having enormous... He's going to slip one away very shortly.
So it is Adam Muir who plays the ball now, 30 metres away from the Manly line, and Newcastle, they're hanging in there. Johns for Ross, and Ross is catapulted into the ground.
Cliffy Lyons, great tackle. Ball and all, impact was that strong, forced the mistake. Great tackle from the 5'8".
Played by Hancock, and Lyons a dummy half, uses Roberts. You can see when Ian Roberts runs, that knee has become a handicap to him.
It's 2 unbelievable performances we've seen. Like Terry Lamb, who did turn 34 2 days ago, and Cliffy Lyons, who, if he's any younger, he's not much younger. And they're just throwing themselves into the gauntlet here, sensing a grand final chance.
Gillespie makes a knock on.
Is that the mistake that might cost Manly?
You start talking about Cliffy Lyons and Terry Lamb. I suppose you can put this bloke in it as well, David Gillespie. You might make it come back yourself, Gus.
No chance of that, but I've been watching David Gillespie for 11 or 12 years in Sydney and waited a long time to see him put a ball down as simply as that.
Here's Egar now, probing for this opening.
Probing as they may, they've been doing it in vain. The only time they actually intruded on Manly's privacy was with the kick from Ainscough. It's the only time. Other than that, hard to remember a clean break. Johns using Marquette and picked off in a wonderful tackle by Menzies. Now they come to the right. Matthew Johns. Now it's Andrew. Now it's Egar. And now it's back for Andrew. He's out of a tackle. Now he spreads the ball on the left. Ainscough inside for Muir. Again Menzies is to the fore. Ainscough puts a kick in. Cliffy Lyons read it well. And Lyons will play it. Hancock away from the corner.
That's a poor play from Ainscough there. It wasn't the last tackle. Very important that they could have got the ball on the last tackle into the in-goal area and got another set of 6. Really just giving away possession, this one.
Manly with Terry Hill just inside the 20-metre line. Joining in Kosseff. Wide for Elstood. Runs back into this Newcastle defence that is very keen. They're getting there in numbers now, making tackles, and Manly are starting to squeeze passes out that they probably don't have to. This is O'Davis on the way back to the halfway line. Terry Hill is the man that makes the tackle. 1 hour and 1 minute gone, and Grogan knocks on. Now Tuvey comes away to the left, and then Lyons, and he puts it back on the right for Terry Hill. And Hill tries to stand Andrew Johns up. And Ainscough makes the tackle with Johns, and now Roberts. And Roberts is put down 2 metres into Newcastle's area. He didn't play that night, but Manly gave Newcastle a hammering. Neither he nor Ridge played that night. And Cunningham got sent off. I think that was the same match as we find, or was it Terry Hill? And now it's Elstood who plays it, and Hasler goes into the hands of Tuvey. The pass out in front of Lyons, dived on out there desperately by Hill. And 5 tackles gone now for Manly. On the far side of the ground, Lyons' kick goes out on the full, so there's a few mistakes starting to creep into the Manly attack.
Yeah, things are going so well for Manly. They know they've got a struggle on their hands here. This Newcastle defence has been great, especially for the last 10-15 minutes. The longer the game goes on, Newcastle keeps sniffing away, and they know that there's a possible win there for them.
Now Darren Tracy it is, the next of the Newcastle forwards. There goes the pass out the back. And Manly come up with the football. Carroll from a standing start. And that must have hurt Peden. Peden comes out of it with one arm limp. Now they go over for Lyons and on for Tuvey. Here's the overlap. Hopawate. He fends away from Grogan. Menzies is inside him. There's Menzies now. The impetus is gone though. Menzies will play it. They've got a big back line out to the right. There's a mile of personnel out there. Lyons. He turns it inside. Ridge is taken by McCormack. Now Hasler moves into dummy half. Lyons runs the decoy. Hasler goes himself. Lyons, as you can see, is on the blind side. He's called it. This is the last tackle. He holds it back for Gillespie. The ball has gone to ground, and that's the turnover.
Oh, tremendous hit there from Michael Egar. Robbie McCormack had been caught out, looked a little bit tired. They almost created an overlap on the blind side, and the number 17 for Newcastle came up with the all-important tackle.
Carroll comes off again. Cunningham has gone back on. It's blood bin apparently for Carroll. Now McCormack across for Johns and then Matthew. And Matthew is almost through. The tackle by Cunningham with Hasler. That's the 30-metre line. And Tracy takes it up. 6-4 down, still 15 minutes to go. Newcastle behind. Johns, he puts a kick out on the full. So the pressure is getting stronger. 6-4 Manly after 64. Half. Manly. They've just gone up a notch here now. Hasler. 18 metres out from the line. Gillespie finds himself a dummy half. He goes over for Roberts, and Roberts takes it to the 10-metre line. You follow Roberts to the ground with the ball because he's often able to unload.
Here's Tuvey! Lions! Oh, Cliffy! He scores! Salutes the crowd as Terry Lamb did yesterday. Another veteran rugby league champion scores today.
And a simple little move. It was the explosive acceleration of Jeff Tuvey to get in behind the defensive line. The disappointment on the Newcastle faces are evident. He just put the foot down on the inside, attracted a lot of defence, and straight up the middle, Cliff Lyons.
Oh yeah, Jeff Tuvey's had a great game today. He's been tough, relentless, right up the middle of the ruck there. Puts the jink on, creates the try. There's plenty of Newcastle defence there. This will hurt them. Back inside now. Cliffy Lyons, go you good thing. Cliffy over near the pace. The 8 points. Well, it's 10-4 if Matthew Ridge converts this. Newcastle will be hurting.
The unbiased commentary coming through there, loud and clear too.
That's the luxury of playing with great players. Jeff Tuvey played inside Cliff Lyons. Steve Menzies folded wide to go with Lyons. Newcastle overread it, and Tuvey said, well, if you're watching him, you've left me inside, back inside the Lions.
And Ridge it is who converts. Brings a smile to the face of the big fellow. 12-4 now, Manly with 13 to go.
The restart from Andrew Johns, and he perseveres with the deep restart. I thought he might have gone for a shallower restart. Hancock it is, away from the 20-metre line, but he's wrapped up by Paul Marquette. And Gillespie now on the third tackle. He's on the 30-metre line for the Manly Sea Eagles. Now they're comfortable. Now they lead by 8 points with 12 minutes to go. Terry Hill running from dummy half, and that's a very good play at this stage of the match. They haven't got to do anything flash anymore, just very simple plays, turn Newcastle around, find the line, consume time, set the scrum. And that's very much what Cliff Lyons is doing right now. As I said, they're comfortable now.
When you get down to the end of the season, you want your top players on the field and in form. And it's just the difference it makes. They've got so much time to do things. Cliff Lyons, as Terry Lamb did yesterday, directing ball to the corners, waiting for the opportunity. If Manly keep position up at this end of the field, it makes it very, very tough for Newcastle, who have got to start to force the ball and then come up with mistakes of their own.
So now Matthew Johns tries to beat them himself inside his own 20-metre line. That is Bill Peden in 27. The Knights, they've hung in there. They've given us a contest. And we've only got 11 minutes to go. They're not beaten yet. But that last nail, it went very deeply into the coffin. Andrew Johns, 35 metres away from the Manly line.
Well, the good thing for Newcastle is they know they've done it under semi-final pressure before, come from behind in the last stages. That's what experience is all about.
This will be a penalty to Manly.
Gee, that's a brave effort from Matthew Ridge. There is no doubt he's carrying rib injury. He put absolutely no self-preservation there. Up above the pack.
The timing from the runners today from Newcastle hasn't been good. He's got Jamie Ainscough again for being in front of the kicker, and he was. They pointed out you have to stay outside the 10 metres. Ridge finds touch now. Some great images here. Just watching the faces of these Manly players, you can almost see the thought process of Cliffy Lyons. He knows exactly what is needed. Desi Hasler's nearly out on his feet. that he can see a grand final that he never envisaged would be in his career again.
They're still pointing and talking, Newcastle. That last set of 6 they had, they made easy yards, and Manly were back on their heels for the first time in the game. But the defence is still talking and pointing at the opposition.
This is Tuvey now, promoting off a pass from Owen Cunningham. And they're 5 metres now into Newcastle's area with Menzies. Steve Menzies, 38 metres away. Manly up on their toes, looking for the ball. They know that this match is theirs. John Hopewate proving hard to pull down. Lyons draws the defence and then angles Gillespie back in field. And David Gillespie will play the ball. 28 metres out from the Newcastle line. This is the last. And Ridge, it came off the feet of Adam Muir. Lyons gets it back. Kosef off the hands of Hasler. And Newcastle come up with it. And they knock on.
Which means that Manly will score very shortly as David Gillespie leaves the field. A scrum feed now for the Manly side, and you've got to think that the game is just about to be won well and truly. Just can't see Newcastle hanging on here now.
Cliff Lyons very, very wide here. Terry Hill's gone to 5'8".
And Hill able to get a pass away. Ridge, now Hopewate, ball knocked down, and it's with Kosef, but he's ruled there was a knock-on.
Didn't look like a knock-on from here. Big tackle there by Paul Harrigan on Hopper. It's forced the ball loose. He comes streaming in, and that ball's gone backwards.
Well, it's extinct now, knockbacks.
Yeah, that's right.
Used to have 100 of them in the game. You don't see any anymore.
Ainsto has got a problem with Terry Hill and Craig Hancock, and they take him over the sideline.
Oh, penalty.
And a penalty goes to Newcastle. Terry was going to mouth off when he said, "I'm sorry, you're right. I take it back."
See, the player had been tackled. And the rule simply says that when a player's progress has been halted and he can no longer offload or promote, the tackle is deemed to have been completed. From McCormack, it's gone across from Andrew to Matthew, and then out for Adam Muir. He's had a great season, Adam Muir. He's had a magnificent end of the season. And I fully expect that he will be on the plane to England for the World Cup, which we'll be covering exclusive on the 9 network. Tracy now, 35 metres away from the Manly line on the last, and Andrew Johns goes very high. Ridge is under it, and he never took his eyes off it. He didn't have to leave the ground.
You've got to take your that is courage. You've got to take your hat off to him.
And there he is.
Rib injury, look at this. Eyes on the ball. Defence coming through at him. No fear whatsoever.
Yeah, I said about, 20 minutes ago that he may not last the game. It's been a very courageous effort by him.
Nobody will know just how much pain he's in, but I'm sure it's having an effect on him, even his kicking game, even his kicks in general play, his line kicks, his goal kicking. I think the pain is even coming through with that. I might be well wrong, but I don't think so. There's Ross now. And away from his 30-metre line. He got away from one, but pulled down by Daniel Gartner, who's been given a little taste of the last few minutes of this match. He'll play an important part next Sunday.
I'm surprised that Matthew Ridge is struggling out there, as we believe he is, with 5.5 minutes to go, leading by 8, and a grand final next week, that he wouldn't be off the field now.
Pete, I think you've seen the reason. In the last 5 minutes under the high ball, he's just incredible. I think a half-fit Matthew Ridge out there is the best option for Manly at the moment.
So it's Andrew Johns throwing a long ball out for Ainsko.
And then dropped onto the boot by Robbie O'Davis. That has turned Manly around. Ainscough goes for another kick. And there's a knock on there against Manly's Matthew Ridge. He's lucky he didn't wear a boot in the mouth, actually.
I've got to say it again. Watch how brave this is. He just throws himself at the feet here of the Newcastle player. No fear.
Absolutely none at all.
He knocked himself out in the test match at Stockland Stadium, Lang Park or whatever. What's it called, Fatty, now? Suncorp Stadium.
Yes.
He knocked himself out attacking the legs of an opponent. The Stocklands and
Sunburnt, isn't it?
Lang Park, isn't it, Fatty?
That's the one, mate.
Now, Newcastle. With 4 minutes on the clock, they've got to score twice. They know what it's like to come from behind. They know what it's like to perform a miracle, but I don't think it's going to happen for them today. Played by Peden. McCormack goes over for Tracy to give on, and then Andrew Johns' pass on the bounce. It finds Ainscough, but that's all taken a lot of the sting out of the attack. And O'Davis is wrapped up by Cliffy Lyons, and Ainscough is there. Again, we have not seen Ainscough run with the football.
He's virtually avoided physical contact when he's been carrying the ball. Whether that near side leg is the one facing the opposition, his right thigh is that sore. He can't get contact, but he's kicked, he's passed, he's run away from the defence. Brave effort to be out there.
Well, I think if you talk about bravery, you've got to remember this, that Newcastle, although they'll get beaten today, they've had 8 players out there who have had painkilling injections before they've run out. So a wonderful effort, good season for them.
This Manly club playing in their 29th finals. They came into the competition in 1947. And they're playing in their 29th final series, which is an incredible record. And they will play in their 13th grand final next Sunday. Canterbury will play in their 14th grand final. But keep in mind that Canterbury is an older club than Manly.
It's been a professional performance by Manly, but not a smooth one by any stretch of the imagination. And unlike Canberra yesterday, who couldn't put it together, they've been able to do enough to win. And this game will certainly just top them off for next week's grand final. An all-Sydney grand final for the first time in a number of years. Canterbury and Manly will be a great game.
1988, I think, Phil, was the last Sydney all grand final. That was Balmain and Canterbury.
Phil will know a bit about that one, having coached the Canterbury side that year.
Yes. And Terry Lamb would well remember it. I think that was the one where he took Ellery Hanley out of it, did he not?
Yeah, I think Terry Lamb might have been coaching him too.
Ainsco's kick is looking for O'Davis. Hancock is there first. Dying seconds of the game. 1 minute and 40 on the clock. And then 1 week. 1 week to the last Winfield Cup grand final between Manly and Canterbury. There's so many things crossing my mind as I think about that grand final. Terry Lamb looking to captain his first grand final winning side. Played more first grade football than anybody else. Cliffy Lyons, a man who has unfolded another chapter in what seems a never-ending story of rugby league for him. It'll be ARL versus Super League, and Arco's mob against the Bullfrogs mob.
Yeah, very quiet in the dressing room yesterday. The Canterbury Bankstown team, they were here last year, celebrated a lot after getting to the grand final. Probably ran their race a week too early. Be interesting. Manly will be nice and composed after this one. It's just been a tradesman-like performance. They'll be happy to get the win and go on to next week's one. Probably one they've been looking forward to all season.
30 seconds left on the clock. Handshakes up in the Manly coach's box. Frank Stanton, of course, the chief executive of Manly. One of the men you saw. He knows all about grand finals as a coach and as a player. 10 seconds. 9, and down goes the count with the crowd. And down goes the season for Newcastle, the great rugby league city. This is as far as they've come. It can only get better, and it will for Newcastle. a great supporter of rugby league, the Hunter Bay city. It'll get better for you, but not this year. 12-4, Manly over Newcastle. Ridge and Lions got the tries, and for Newcastle, Robbie O'Davis.
Struggled, but Manly have earned their spot in next week's grand final against the Sydney Bulldogs, defeating the Newcastle Knights here at the Sydney Football Stadium, 12 points to 4, a very strong performance. The man of the match, our Ansett Australian man of the match, we couldn't go past Cliff Lyons, scored a try, some great clean-up work, defensively was outstanding, $1,000 richer thanks to Ansett. And Footy Tab today for the 12-4 scoreline, $762.70, pick the winners just over $30 and pick the margins, $6.37 and 30 cents. And of course next week, the finale for this year at the Sydney Football Stadium. The Sydney Bulldogs up against Manly will be coming to you live from 11 a.m. All the aspects of grand final day will be covered. And Paul Vorden, it is some kind of contest.
Oh, it'll be a beauty, Pete. Manly, they didn't struggle today. They played a good, hard semi-final. Now, the secret of grand final week is, of course, to get the media stuff out of the way in the first couple of days. I'd imagine the coaches will impose some bans then. Then the trick is to remain focused on the match without, thinking about it too much. If you can do that, you don't want to get yourself in a state where, you're worried about it, and it'll be a beauty.
Plenty of experience in both sides. I'm sure they'll hand that very well. The Bulldogs were great yesterday. Manly equally as good today. We set up a tremendous finish to this year's Winfield Cup competition. But for now, on behalf of the Nine football crew, we wish you a very good night.
Congratulations, Simon. Going into the game, a big job for you to try and control Laurie Daly. You did that well today.
Yeah, a big job for everyone to try and control Laurie. Big job for anyone to control Canberra, really. Laurie's not the only one. Their forwards stuck it to us and we held out.
Did you think the competition of the last couple of weeks in the semi-finals have helped the Doggies? Canberra going into that game, no real hard games going into that big semi.
Well, it's pretty obvious we wouldn't have beaten Canberra in that fashion, 2 months ago. We're in the doldrums a bit as far as toughness and point scoring goes. We came off 2 hard games, as you say, and we're just treating them as a bonus. And the longer we play, the bigger the bonus, I suppose. Canberra, I don't think they were flat at all. I don't think they struggled for form or fitness or anything. So 2 good teams. I guess bounce of the ball went to us today.
Yeah, straight into the grand final, obviously. The understanding between the pack, unbelievable. I don't think it'll happen to you again, getting beat in the grand final.
Well, we certainly hope not, Blocker. We haven't thought about it. We've been one game training every week. We just go to training, think about one game this week. Another game on the boards to dissect, try and work something out for. I don't think we'll dissect it too much. We'll probably just go out the same fashion we have been.
All right, mate. Congratulations. Enjoy the win, mate, and good luck next week.
Thanks very much, Steve.
One of the ultimate professionals in the Winfield Cup is Simon Gillies. Tremendous work rate in both attack and defence. He was chasing as well at the end of the game as he was at the beginning. And interesting to note that he said that Canberra, no excuses. They didn't play well, but they played as well as they were allowed to.
Oh, they got hammered, Pete. Canterbury were just brilliant today. Simon Gillies, 35 tackles, 17 hit-ups in the match, got 2 tries. And just ahead of Jason Hetherington, he had a great game around the rucks too. Terry Lamb, a host of wonderful players there for the Bulldogs. And Newcastle Manly sitting back. They know they've got a big job ahead of them next week.
We mentioned Terry Lamb. He was very good again this afternoon. I'm sure that he is delighted going through to another grand final. He's now with Andrew Voss.
Well, Terry, can you believe this? The fairy tale is unfolding and through to the grand final.
Yeah, it's a fairy tale that, I knew we had a chance against St George. Everybody rid us off against Brisbane, and now Canberra, everybody rid us off as well. We had a couple of bucks on ourselves, and I don't know if you're allowed to do that, but who cares?
Is it true that you've been saying that 2 weeks out from the semi-finals, from the quarter-finals, you didn't even believe it was worth the Bulldogs making it? Their form was just that it really wasn't worthwhile.
Of course, our form was very ordinary mid-season. We scored 66 points against the Cowboys our last game, and maybe that was just a bit of a stepping stone towards these semi-finals. Our defence held that day, and we started believing in ourselves. The ball held. In the season, the ball just wasn't coming off for us. The bounce wasn't falling for us. And it was just frustrating. I think that's where it comes from.
11-0, everything's travelling well at half-time, but then the twinkling of an eye, it's an 11-6. What were you thinking?
Nothing. We were ahead. We didn't have to score any points, and we knew we had a defence to keep them out. And pretty lucky to throw a ball to Johnny Tumu, who had a good step to go through.
Don't care who you play next week.
Who cares? Mate, we're there.
Terry, good luck.
Thanks very much.
It's just not going to be the same without Terry Lamb running around for Canterbury next year. Another great game this afternoon. He's led his side to a 25 points to 6 win over the Canberra Raiders. We'll take a break now. Be back with more from the Sydney Football Stadium.